First question is from Sam Caniglio.
Coach, big win today against a tough opponent. What are your general thoughts on how your team performed?
They were great. They were extremely resilient. They've been resilient the entire season. They stay tough, and they just continue to prove it. So I think questioning whether they're in the game or they want to win, for me, that's now out the door at this point of the season. They've just played tight, stuck together, come back too many times. I think we got a really good group of kids that are learning how to compete and learning how to win, but they want to compete and they want to win, and that's the most important thing.
Next is Matt Thornsberry.
Hey, Coach, can you just talk about the key differences there between the first 4 innings, going down 4-0 like that, and then your team just finding it to come back like that?
Yeah, we're working with Jake Carr. He's going to be an instrumental piece of this team. He's going to be really important, but clearly hasn't gotten going on. We have too many great arms in the bullpen right now to stick with a starter that doesn't have success early. And so we really had to treat Jake Carr's appearance like a relief appearance. He got 1.1 innings. He minimized to some extent, and we had to hand the ball to somebody else. He's going to get it figured out. We're going to get it figured out, but we haven't equipped him with anything to feel great about on the mound right now. So as a coaching staff and Jake himself, we got to figure that out, because he's too good of a kid. He's too competitive, and he's been too successful in the past for him not to be a big part of it. That was a big reason we were down. There was 5 hits in 1.1 innings, and they were hitting the ball all over the yard. We didn't play extremely clean defense really early. Outerkirk came in, gave those guys a new look, and then from that point forward, we gave up 1 hit in 4 innings, I believe. Skylar Gonzalez, Ben Abernathy, Tim Wynia, Ben Hampton, and Madison Jeffrey were excellent. They stepped into specific roles, and they executed those roles against specific hitters. And Coach Ginther and Coach Garcia had a really good game plan of how to do that. And we got a few timely hits and some really good at-bats. One namely was Kevin Brophy pinch hit at bat where he drew a walk. And you don't very often say that that might have been the biggest at bat of the day. It was a walk, but I really believe it was. And that was huge. He was in a different role, a non-starting role, and he had success. We had a lot of kids come off the bench that had pretty integral piece of that game. So I think the last half of the game was very different feeling, and that starts with the mound. It's always what the guys are doing on the bump.
Yeah, just one more off of that. I mean, are you telling your guys there to just get anything in play? I mean, what are you telling your guys there in the dugout?
We have a game plan against each specific pitcher that we face. And so depending on their pitches, their arsenal, the percentage that they throw specific pitches, we have an offensive philosophy and approach for every guy. And so nothing changes based on the score or the inning or the situation, just a reminder of how we're going to attack this specific pitcher. We may be less or more aggressive based on counts and how much we're trailing by. But today, there was basically no offense called. There was one bad steal that I put on when we were down 4-1 and Barry got thrown out at second base. But that was really the only offensive play.
Sam?
Coach, Hudson's been a pretty big piece of the offense early on, especially today with a couple of RBIs. What kind of value has he brought to your team, just as a new addition?
The guy is dumb good. He is really, really talented. He is really articulate. He really understands the game. And if there wasn't a hitting coach and a player had to take over, he would absolutely be the guy. After every at-bat, doesn't matter the situation, he walks back into the dugout, he pulls out a journal, and he journals his at-bat. Every pitch, every result, every thought, every approach. So that is obviously very unique in college baseball, but he's also a 230-pound gorilla that has a unbelievable approach, rarely strikes out, and barrels a ton of balls. I don't think he had any hits today. The shortstop for Coastal robbed him of a hit, but he is as consistent as anybody on our team. Day to day, he's just super consistent. He's reliable. You know what you're going to get. And so I would be very surprised if that didn't continue for the rest of the season. He's been doing it for a long time. He's a grad transfer that came here. So this is his 5th year of college baseball. And based on offensive analytical numbers, he's been one of the top 25 players in college baseball over the last 2 years. And so he does it by not swinging at balls. He only offers at good pitches. He makes hard contact. All of his at-bats are long. He sees tons of pitches. So it's just a quality at-bat after a quality at-bat. Rarely is it a bad at-bat.
How many guys have you come across that have had a journal that in the dugout that they write after every at-bat?
Zero. He's the only dude. And as a coach, you always say, like, hey, you're in a wonderful spot, offensively. Your swing's in a good spot. Mentally, you're calm. You look like things are moving slow. You need to write down what you're doing. You got to go write down what's working for you. He's taken that to a whole different level and had nothing to do with me. He showed up here doing that. And as a coach, pretty reassuring, good, bad, or indifferent. He just cares. He just really cares. So for me to try to motivate Hudson, he has zero motivation needed. I can only provide information, and he'll take that information if it helps him get better, and pretty cool relationship in that sense.
Next is Kevin Kinder.
Coach, you mentioned your team's resiliency. One place that really strikes me is you probably came into the season expecting a starting rotation that you could really lean on. Hadn't been, maybe what you've expected, but you've shifted, as you mentioned, gotten a lot more out of your roles in the bullpen. How difficult has that, I don't want to call it a transition, but maybe shifting that focus been, and then, getting all these younger guys to realize they can contribute this early?
Yeah, it's been really important. I think we have temporarily won some games by doing what we have done. It's probably not a very good long-term plan. These young guys with limited experience, it's hard to work them up. It's hard to put that large of a workload on them. So if they're pitching 2 or 3 times a week when we're playing 4 games a week, all of a sudden those pretty cool numbers that you're seeing, the 95s to 98s with power sliders, turn into 91, 93s with average breaking balls. And so you have to be careful with how you use them. At the end of the day, I don't think there's ever been a really high quality team in college baseball that didn't have great starting pitching. So somebody has to take that role. Someone has to run with it. That will give you a chance to win games long term. And so whether roles change or not, I don't know that. I do know guys have stepped up and picked each other up in these moments. And so hopefully, as some guys are starting to figure this thing out and their buddies have picked them up, they'll be able to do the same for these relievers down the road when they figure out how to go 6 and 7 innings of quality baseball.